Today we are back with Bolt in the arena. So this is actually Bolt's first time being in the arena since we put the long reins on him for the first time in the round yard. We've done nothing due to his owner's work commitments, rain, and everything being too wet to do any work with him. So he's fairly fresh as well. Not that you can tell that he's fresh. In true Bolt fashion, he's taking everything in his stride, including the much more open space. So I find sometimes with young horses that have been worked extensively in the round yard, coming into a wider, more open area can be a little bit of a shock to their system. But as you can see, Bolt is not concerned. There is the added factor with Bolt. He actually lives in the property diagonally across from us, so he has to be road walked over for every training session. So that possibly helps with his not being concerned about this more open large space, because he goes from one property, it's probably 100-metre walk or so on the road, so that in itself is good exposure for him. But being that he's only been worked in the round yard, he has gotten used to following that rail around in the round yard, and we did only long reining that one time in the round yard before deciding to bring him out here. One of the reasons we decided not to stay in the round yard is because we'd spent quite an extensive amount of time in the round yard, more so than we normally would, so that I could give his owner Katrina some practice free lunging him, and which the more time the owner can spend with the horse, the easier the handover is going to be. We did not adjust the cooler lunge training system today. It is at the same tightness as it was when we long reined him in the round yard last. We probably won't tighten it up much more than what it already is, maybe just a little bit in a couple of days. But he's, as you'll see as this video progresses, he is starting to work in a much more consistently round frame. He's wasn't very keen on going forward and straight. He's used to going in circles and having that rail for support. So as I said, I've taken that rail away now, but he's happy still going in circles in the arena and is learning to listen to my commands through the long reins. Having the cooler lunge training system on helps, because it helps to balance him and get him working in a more connected frame. So if he's feeling more balanced, it's easier for him to move around, and it's easier for me to guide him where I want him to go. So as you'll see from at the beginning, he was a little bit hesitant about where I wanted him to go, and now he's starting to relax and just circle me. So when they do get a little bit concerned about where you want them to go, it's easier to go with them and then just keep trying to turn them. Don't try to stop them. Because then you can get into all sorts of trouble. I've seen horses turn themselves inside out, flip themselves. The priority is always keeping him going forward and thinking forward. So if he has a little meltdown, that's okay. He's allowed to have a meltdown. As you can see, he's not that keen on turning yet. We'll work on that throughout the session. But again, we've done a very limited amount of turning on the long reins themselves. So I'll just give him a little shoe up there and get him thinking forward again. So even for the young horse, changing directions can be a big deal, which is why we do a lot of directional changes when we're free lunging them. We want them working evenly on both sides, not just learning to go in one direction and then in the other direction. And as you can see, he's starting to improve his connection and going forward quite nicely now. Okay, that trot's looking much more uphill and connected. Whoops, wrong canter lead. It is what it is. I'm not going to get worked up about that. At least he's going forward. And he's a little young horse. So I am going to always correct him when he picks up the wrong canter lead, because I need him to learn about correct canter leads. But I'm going to allow him to canter on and then correct it, so that he's always happy to strike off in the canter. I'm just having a little bit of trouble keeping him staying in the canter at the moment, and again, that's okay. He's used to following a rail around. I've just taken that outside rail support away, and I'm trying to provide more support just from the long reins. So, had a little meltdown. Be sure to move with them when they do this. So, just tighten up your outside rein and keep moving with them. If you don't have that outside rein, he can spin around in a circle and then he gets into an awful mess. So even here, I've still got the outside rein and I'm just going to go with him. If he ends up bouncing off the rail, it's not a big deal, which he has here. Just make sure his leg doesn't get caught, that outside rein doesn't get caught between his legs. And I just keep using my voice and flicking the whip at him to drive him forward again. He's getting a little bit nappy towards the gate. So yeah, I could close the gate, but I want him to learn that he can't just duck out of an open space. So for your more novice trainer, shut the gate. Don't even create that argument this early on. But for me, I just expect him to deal with it. He's gone from being in a very enclosed environment to a much more open environment. Also, this is calculated based on the fact that Bolt is pretty quiet, pretty happy with his work. He's never ever given us any trouble. If he was a more feisty, difficult horse, then I would shut the gate. And you can see there, he's off again, he's moving forward. So always remember to go with them, go forward with them. Get behind that shoulder. You want to stay in line or just behind the shoulder. Otherwise, you will end up with a horse that's turning in on you and you have no control. That's a better turn. That's definitely getting easier now. He's starting to understand the pressure of the reins on his mouth. So this is why we do long rein. If Bolt had that little meltdown with a rider on his back, this could have gone in an entirely different direction because that rider could have overbalanced him. Anything could have happened. So this is why we try to work through these situations on the long rein so that by the time we get on the horse, they're working in a comfortable, connected frame. They understand rein contact and they know how to walk, trot and canter on the bit thanks to the Cooler Lunge training system, because that's how we want them to go under saddle. And then they have to learn to contend with having a rider on their back. So that changes the whole ball game again, but it's done by degrees, not just in one quick session, which is where you can get into trouble if you don't work through things in a logical order with young horses. That's how you can create issues. So now what I'm trying to do is start to move Bolt around the arena, up and down the arena, and work on our straight lines. So as you saw to begin with, he did not want to walk out on a straight line. So rather than creating an issue with that, I put him into a place that he was more comfortable with, which is the curve, like going around on a circle, because that's what he's used to. And then I'm now revisiting that further into the session. And as you can see, he's much happier to walk out in a straight line, go forward, and stay in front of me now. And so then our next step is improving the turns, because as you can see, we struggle to maintain the forward, even in walk, and be able to turn. So again, it's something that we just have to develop by degrees. Bolt is definitely one of the easier horses that I've trained, because he has a very good temperament. All of the basic handling that he has had to date has been quite correct. So he doesn't have any bad habits that need to be dealt with or any fear issues. He's quite a nice, clean slate. And so what we're doing is just building on that now and progressing his training. I have broken in horses not using the Cooler Lunge training system, and I've obviously broken in many horses using the Cooler Lunge training system, and I'm telling you now it's easier with the Cooler Lunge training system because the training system is what's teaching them to become round. The long reins are simply there for me to guide the horse. Sometimes I'll use the outside rein and tap it on their hind quarter to get them to go more forward, and of course to steady the horse and teach it to stop, along with my voice commands. So everything I'm doing with Bolt is also using basic voice commands, so your walk, trot, canter, and body language as well. So always looking to improve the communication with the horse, which then as again makes it easier when we put them under saddle. And you'll see he's turning much better now. So that's just all in this one session that we've gone through. He's now able to go from this horse that was only comfortable being on the circle to walking up and down the arena and being able to turn whilst maintaining the forward. So he's working in quite a relaxed, comfortable frame. That's a good walk. He's got a good overtrack in the walk, which is good. Always be careful about what you do with the walk. The walk is the easiest pace to ruin. So there he's working in quite a nice, relaxed, connected frame. That's what we want for the walk. We don't want to improve it. We just want him staying in that frame, being relaxed and tracking up. Oops, we just had a little jog, but came back straight away because I didn't ask him to do that. If you're feeling like you can't control the horse at any time, keep turning them. As long as you're turning them, you've got some sort of control. So if you can't stop them, just keep turning them around you and eventually they will stop. If they don't, decrease the size of your circle, which increases the degree of difficulty for them to keep going forward. Obviously that's not going to be a thing with Bolt. He's not a rushy horse. He's much more liable to just kick up, which again is not a problem. We're just teaching him that that's not entirely appropriate behaviour. We don't need him kicking up into the canter. And that is quite a good balanced trot. We're going for the trot turn, and you'll see that I'm running forward with Bolt to make it easier for him, so I'm not blocking that trot in any way. At this stage, you cannot stay still in the centre and do a figure of 8 with a horse like this. You've got to be able to go with them, shorten your outside rein, which then becomes your new inside rein. And keep moving forward and staying behind that shoulder while you do it. And we have halt.
Yep.
So now I'm going to move Bolt around and bring him out of the arena. So that in itself can be a thing. It's not in this case. It's Bolt. He's handling everything else fine. So taking him out of the enclosed space is not an issue. But with some horses it can be. We wouldn't be bringing every horse out of the arena on day one of long reining in the arena. This is quite a quiet horse, which is why we're doing this. So every horse is different. Just because we can do this with this horse doesn't mean we can do that with the next breaker. But as you can see, he's not reacting any differently to being outside of the arena. It's exactly the same. So thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cooler Lunge Training System. And please feel free to share this with your friends. Thanks for watching.